Hello, let's talk about Pagan New Year, or also known as the Witch's New Year. So a lot of people think that Samhain or Halloween is the Witch's New Year. This comes from one 19th century author who said that the Celts celebrated the New Year at Samhain. This is the only piece of evidence for this idea, and it only came from the one guy in the 19th century. So it's possible that some Celts in a very small area did celebrate it as that, but it wasn't a widespread thing. So obviously, if you want to celebrate Samhain as the Witch's New Year in modern times, that's completely valid, but just don't go round claiming that all Celts did it everywhere for centuries or something, because they didn't. So what about historical celebrations of the New Year? So for a long time, it was actually the 1st of April that was the New Year. We can tell that this is the case because April Fool's Day exists, and that is a liminal transitional thing where you can tease people and tell them tall stories for the first half of the day. Another piece of evidence for this is that in Britain the financial year starts on April the 1st, and also back in the day the legal year started on that date, and it's close to Lady Day, March the 25th, which was a time when people would go to a hiring fair and change their contracts to be to hire themselves out as a servant. So, and that was one of the 4 quarter days when you could do that, I believe. So so we know that April the 1st was a really important day, and in ancient times the Romans also celebrated their New Year on April the 1st, but they decided to change it when they wanted to move a general from one posting in the Roman Empire to another posting, and normally their contracts would be up in the new year. So why they didn't just change his contract, I don't know, but instead they decided to move the new year to the start of January, also known as the calends of January, and that's when it got moved to the new year. So this is also very appropriate because the god Janus, the god who faces both forwards and backwards, is associated with January. So whether he was all associated with January before they changed the date of the new year, I'm not sure, but obviously it's super appropriate, and it kind of makes sense to have, I don't know, it makes sense to us now to have New Year next to the winter solstice, but I mean it could be near any of the solstices and equinoxes and still make sense. I mean, the Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah, which is the birthday of the world, the date that supposedly the date that God created the world, is near the autumn equinox. So I guess you can put your New Year anywhere you like. For me, my personal feeling is that Imbolc is when everything starts. Doesn't work, so it works really well in the UK because that's when the snowdrops come up, so it's the first signs of life coming up from the earth. Doesn't work so well in Canada when it's still covered in snow at Imbolc, so I guess probably spring equinox makes more sense here. So you can argue for the New Year being near a number of different festivals depending on your perspective and your local climate. But however, there is no evidence for Samhain being the New Year, so by all means celebrate it as that, but just don't go around claiming it's ancient. And whatever you do at Samhain, have a good one, and take care out there, and blessed be.